Hey Killer Bees, it's Paula B from paulabfitness.com and welcome to the Let's Run podcast, where every Tuesday we talk about fitness matters that matter to you. And today we are talking about weight loss, something that matters so much that I had to turn this into a 5-part series. You guys, today is part number 4, where we are talking about the muddle in the middle. Now, if you have missed the other 3, don't worry about it. You haven't missed anything. Part 1 was where we talked about my personal weight loss story success. Part 2 was where we talked about everything. I mean, literally everything you could possibly need to know about getting started. Part 3 was where we talked about mindset issues. And today, like I said, we're talking about the muddle. Now, either here on screen if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on like any one of your favorite podcast platforms, you will find a playlist that has all of them, eventually all 5 episodes of this series, so that you can refer back to it again and again. You guys, today we are going for a great walk and a run while we're talking about the muddle in the middle. I've got my handy dandy gym boss set for 1-minute intervals. I'm going to go back and forth, walking, running, walking, running. You can use them however you want to, or not at all. Either way, make sure that you get warmed up before we get going. And when you're ready, I'm totally ready. Let's run. And of course, what I mean by that is let's walk, because I'm going to get started with a walking interval. You guys, I know I do this literally every single week where I'm like, you guys, and then I take a big deep breath. I'm going to try not to do that every single time, but today I feel that way. Today's topic, man, I concurrently have so much to say about it, and also weirdly not a lot, because this is a weird time. This is the part of weight loss here in the middle where everybody becomes a special snowflake in their own way. It's kind of a funny thing where there's no one size fits all. You know, when we were getting started, it was count your calories or do something that makes you completely 100% consistent. And that is the answer. I mean, truly, it is the answer. And it still is the answer, but we messy human beings make the middle. Sometimes, I'm going to go ahead and pick this up to a run. Sometimes we make the middle like a mess. I mean, we really do. Now, I'm going to start off our conversation though by saying you might not have trouble at all. If you listened to my story, I never had a plateau. I never had a slowdown. I never had trouble at all in the middle of my weight loss. I had plenty of trouble getting started, and I had plenty of trouble afterwards, but like the process of losing weight was relatively linear, more linear than not, let's say. And I know that that's not everybody's experience, but I want you to know that it might be yours, and that's totally okay. You don't have to have trouble. Like, I'm giving you permission. You don't have to have trouble losing weight. It might actually be relatively easy for you. Wouldn't that be lovely? So if you're listening to this like kind of early in your weight loss journey, don't get it in your head that you're going to have a plateau. Don't get it in your head that there's going to be some point where it has to be hard. If it's not hard for you, don't make it hard for yourself. It's totally okay. You have my permission to lose weight easily. Isn't that nice? But my friends, not everybody loses weight easily. Let's be honest. We all have our own issues around weight loss that can sneak up on us in a lot of different ways at a lot of different times along the weight loss process. A lot of the clients that I work with, generally speaking, by the time they have come to me, they've already worked out a lot of their getting started stuff. And then, we start working together. I show them how to be consistent. I help them be consistent. And then they're fine for a while. And then they get to this muddle in the middle. And here's what can happen. There's a lot of different things that can happen. And it might look very different to different people, but it all kind of centers around the same couple of things. So it might look like your weight loss is slowing down. This, generally speaking, happens when people start off by being like pretty successful. The first couple of weeks, you lose, maybe not a ton, but you lose more than average. And maybe you have like a lot of initial success, and then at some point, after a couple of weeks or a couple of months, it settles down to what is actually a normal rate of weight loss for some of us who lost, a half a pound to maybe 1 pound a week. And the slowdown starts to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not losing weight anymore. I'm having trouble. This is hard. Whereas before, when you were losing weight so quickly and so easily and so fast, it didn't feel maybe like work. It might also actually be like a full-on plateau. Like your weight might literally sit on one gosh darn number for weeks. And it starts to feel like, okay, this is just my body. This is it. This is where I'm going to stay forever. It might also look like a gain and a loss, and then 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 a gain and a loss, where the scale is moving, but it's not actually getting any real momentum in either direction. That one, honestly, I think it's especially tough because you are still seeing movement, and so you still feel like, okay, I'm getting somewhere, I'm doing something, but it's kind of just spinning your wheels. You're still more or less at that same number. The other thing that might happen is a real decrease in motivation, where suddenly it's not maybe your number one priority anymore, and well, this got kind of tough, and maybe this is just the weight that I'm going to stay. Maybe this is where my body wants to be. Any or all of these things, any combination of all of these things might happen. And here's what I want you to know. First of all, like I said, you don't have to have trouble. You might sail through and not have any of these things happen to you. You might sail through, you might even have some of these things happen to you, but it doesn't necessarily get in your head and feel like a problem. Once it's in your head and it feels like a problem, that's when we need to come to some sort of resolution. We need to fix the problem, because if you still want to lose weight, if you still have weight that you want to lose, let's figure out a way to move you forward. And here's why I call this the muddle. Because my friends, there's a lot of different reasons why your weight might have slowed down. There's a lot of different reasons why you might have been feeling less motivated lately. There's a lot of different reasons why your body might just be fluctuating on this real, small scale, a couple pounds up, couple pounds down. And there's no one answer. So what I'm going to have you do, if you are here in the middle, and if you're not in the middle yet, this isn't a problem yet, this is future reference. There's a couple of things that you just need to check in on. The first thing that I'm going to have you check is actually check your weight. I mean, I know that sounds really funny, but I hear from people a lot when they're saying, oh, I'm not losing weight anymore. And I'm like, okay, show me numbers. And they're still losing. It's a half a pound. It's a quarter pound. It's a little bit, but they are still losing. Now, here's the thing. If you are losing at all, I understand that the slowness of it is super frustrating, but if you are still losing without the gain, without the plateau, without the actual stopping, you're still successfully losing weight. Don't make it a problem. And as I say all the time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you are still losing weight at all, you're losing weight. You're fine. You're still moving forward. You are still going in the direction that you want to be going. So don't worry about it. I know, easier said than done, but truly, if you are losing weight, you are losing weight. I mean, I don't know how much more clear I can make that. but we're going to kind of come back around to this on one of the other things that you're going to check. But number one, just check your weight. If you're losing weight, you're losing weight. The other thing that I'm going to have you check, though, I'm going to have you check in with your calories. And not just your calories on a daily basis. I know that back when we were talking about getting started, I was telling you, same number of calories every single day, same number of calories every single day, or however else you're being consistent. I'm going to continue to talk about calories just because it's a unit of measurement that we can all understand and agree on. Whatever you're doing to be consistent, for example, if I was talking to my former self when I was doing Slim Fast, check in on how much you're drinking, what kind of shake you're having. Is it the same size? Is it the same consistency? Is it the same time? Are you still doing things consistently? So maybe rather than calories, what I'm asking you to check on is your consistency. Because you might be hovering around that number, but you've given yourself a little more leeway, a little bit here, a little bit there. Some days you're under, a little bit here, a little bit there. If you're not being really consistent, it's going to start showing up, either as a slowdown or that up and down, or as a full-on stall out. Consistency with your calories in is critical, super critical. And I know that a lot of people, when they start to either slow down or go into like the up and down thing, they immediately want to cut their calories. And what I'm going to ask you to do before you do any kind of cutting is check in with your numbers. And really specifically, like, do some math. How many calories are you over or under on a daily basis? How many calories are you over or under on a weekly basis? How many calories are you over or under during this 6-week cycle when we're actually analyzing numbers? The fact is, you might not be quite as consistent as you think you are. On a daily basis, it's very much I can't see the forest for the trees sort of a situation. Being 50 calories off sounds like you've hit your target, but being 50 calories off every day adds up in either direction. I mean, it is every bit as likely that you are under eating as that you are overeating. Truly. And it might even be that you're going back and forth between under eating and overeating, which means that between the 2 days, if you're under 50 one day and over 50 the other, that's 100 calorie difference. Again, doesn't sound like a ton, but that's really inconsistent for your body. For your body, 100 calories plus or minus every day, going back and forth with fluctuating, it's going to start to get real squirrely and it's not going to want to let go of weight. Your body is really looking for absolute consistency. Now, the other thing that I'm going to have you check on is your exercise. Now, I know we spent a lot of time talking when I was telling you how to get started about how it needs to be moderate, needs to be gentle, it needs to be easy. You don't actually have to exercise at all, literally at all, to lose weight. But I happen to know from personal experience, because I see it every day, that moderation starts creeping up, especially if you like to exercise. I mean, I'm assuming if you're here, if you know me and, we're here doing the Let's Run podcast, I'm assuming you actually like exercise. That can be problematic. It's not always problematic, but it can be problematic. If you've started doing a little bit more here, started doing a little bit more there, it still feels pretty moderate, but I'm pushing myself a little bit here, a little bit there. Go back to where you started and check your difference between when you started and where you are now. Now, of course, it might have been, months. Months might have gone by in the time that it took you to lose this much weight and you're here in the middle. But my friends, if you started off at, let's say, 20 minutes of really mild, like walking, 20 minutes of mild, moderate exercise. And now here in the middle, you're at 45 minutes of, low impact cardio and weights and doing all the stuff and sweating every day. That's a huge difference. It might still kind of feel moderate to you, but you've come a long way, baby. And that might be too much for your body. Now I'm going to muddy the water on that one though, because it might actually be that you're doing the exact same thing that you were doing when you started. If you started off with 20 minutes of walking and you're still doing 20 minutes of walking at the exact same pace, it might actually be a little too easy for you now, a little too moderate. Now, I realize that what I've just said to you is that you might be overeating, you might be undereating. You might be over-exercising, you might be under-exercising. I know, this is the muddle in the middle. And this is where it can get really tough to see your own patterns. It's why I'm asking you to check numbers. Numbers don't lie. Your mind might tell you, oh, I'm doing great. But the numbers, that's why we've been tracking them this whole time. This is why you have been keeping track of your calories in. This is why you've been keeping track of your weight. Now, if you haven't been keeping track of your exercise, that's totally okay. I told you didn't have to. But it's something I'd like you to spend some time with thinking about right now. Think back to the first day when you said, okay, I'm losing weight. Are you doing too much more? Or are you doing the exact same? Either one of those might not be the balance that your body is looking for right now. The fact is, your body is changing. And that means that you have to really work on the balance of keeping your activity moderate and also keeping your calories super consistent at that moderate deficit. And it's such a delicate balance of figuring out when to do a little more or when to cut back because you've been doing more. I think about it this way sometimes. You know how sometimes when you're watering the garden and you're trying to turn on like a drip hose, if you don't actually have a drip hose, but you're turning on like a regular hose, and you're like, I just want the water to kind of drip in next to this tree, and I'm gonna have it on for a while. And you turn on the hose, and it doesn't go at all. And then, you turn it up just like a quarter of a turn, and it's like totally perfect, and it's totally fine. And then you go to like water something else, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna turn it up like a little tiny bit more. And then all of a sudden there's just water everywhere because that little quarter of a turn, for whatever reason, was way too much. That's kind of how it goes with this part of weight loss. It barely takes a quarter turn of the handle before suddenly you're doing too much. And so that's why it's super important. Two things, super important. Number one, it's super important to be very, very honest with yourself. This is why we've been keeping records, so that you can be honest with yourself. You're not just getting to the end of the day and thinking, well, I didn't do enough. No, you've got the numbers. You've got the numbers to back it up. You've got the numbers to prove to yourself, I'm doing everything to stay on this plan. I'm doing everything to stay on this program. And every 6 weeks or so, you're looking at your general loss with weight. You're looking at your general consistency with your calories. Being able to look at the numbers is super important. And the other thing that you might really need is some outside eyeballs. This truly is why I do weight loss coaching and why I even have my completely free, very private Facebook group, which there's a link in the description below, no matter where you are watching or listening. It's a place for you to ask questions where you can say, okay, this is what I've been doing for 4 months. This is what's been going on. This is where I started. This is where I am now. Can you see something that I'm not seeing? We, all of us, every single one of us gets like a brain fog sometimes. When we're in the thick of trying to do something, it's really hard to see what it looks like from the outside because we're in the middle of it. Almost everything that I'm saying to you today, you technically can check for yourself. I've got 2 more things for you to check, by the way. But also, it's kind of nice to just get some help with this kind of stuff. I'm going to keep calling it the muddle in the middle. Sometimes, when you're having trouble with it, you just need somebody else to ask you these questions. You just need somebody else to point out to you, oh, hey, you said this 3 weeks ago and now you're doing it like this. What's different? It's really nice to have a friend, frankly. You guys, the other thing I'm going to tell you to check your mindset. I know we spent an entire episode on this last week, and it was probably one of my favorite Let's Run podcast episodes ever because I love talking about mindset stuff because there's just so much of it. You may or may not realize how much your mind affects your body. Your body hears everything your mind says. And let me tell you something. If you have some kind of mindset block around weight loss, around a specific number, around a milestone, around what you can wear, around what other people are saying about you, all kinds of things. There are all kinds of things that might be going on here in the middle that when you thought you had dealt with them all at the beginning, yeah, you dealt with all the beginning stuff. There might be more now. One of the things that I see so commonly, almost every woman I have ever worked with really has a hard time getting under 200. It's just a number. I mean, truly, it's just a number, but there's something about it. There's a barrier that you are crossing that might feel like the mighty Mississippi. It might just feel absolutely uncrossable. And that's important. It's important that you listen to what you're thinking. Listen to what you're feeling. Listen to what you're saying about yourself. Listen to what you're saying about what that means to be under 200. Because here's the thing, it doesn't mean anything. It means that you weigh 199 pounds. That's an objective fact. That is not anything. It's not anything. But we tell ourselves stories. The other barrier that I see a lot of is weighing less than your husband. This is so common, and I mean that nicely. I mean, you are a special snowflake, of course you are, but this is something that happens to a lot of women. It's a goal that you think you want. Like, oh my gosh, if only I could just weigh less than my husband, that would be so amazing. It would feel so great. But then there's still something. There's something. Maybe it's in your past. Maybe it's just a thought you've had. Maybe it's just the way you see yourself. There's all kinds of stories we tell ourselves in our heads that can make certain numbers or certain thresholds feel bigger than they are. Take some time. If you've been stalling out or hovering around a number that maybe you've said it out loud, like, oh man, if only I could get to that number, or maybe you haven't. Spend some time in your head and figure out what it is about that number or being less than that number that still feels off or wrong or scary to you. And I know that those are super weird words. Why would anything about being thin feel off or wrong or scary? I don't know, my friend, but obviously it does. If you're having trouble with it, check in with your mindset. Now, the last thing that I'm going to tell you, and I'm saying that like we're almost done. We are almost done, but I mean, this one's a big one too. And it's actually kind of related. Check in with your goal. Here's something else I see an awful lot of. I see people get started on this weight loss journey and they're like, I am going to lose 50 pounds. No matter what, I'm going for it. This is happening. And then somewhere, maybe it's the first 5 pounds. Maybe it's when they get to 45 pounds down, only got 5 pounds left. There's a lot of middle ground. When I'm talking about the middle here, I'm really talking about anything that is not the first week or the last week. There's a lot that goes on in the middle of weight loss that can cause you to rethink your goals, let's say. And by rethink, what I mean is get scared of. Because my friend, I promise you, that's what it is. Checking in with your goals should be a daily practice. When your goal feels amazing, it's really easy to keep moving towards it. But if you set yourself a goal and then you kind of got muddled up in the daily tasks of, okay, I'm going to count my calories and I'm going to exercise moderately and I'm going to drink my water and I'm going to make sure I go to sleep and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then all of a sudden you realize that it's been a long time and you're still not there. Well, maybe I just really wanted to only lose 10 pounds. Well, maybe I kind of wanted to get healthy. Maybe, hey, this exercise stuff, it feels so awesome. Maybe I want to run a half marathon. Maybe, oh, you know what, I really like lifting weights. Let's see if I can get strong. There are all kinds of things that we say to ourselves that can really water down our original goals. And I will encourage you to check in with what made you set that goal to begin with. The fact is, you might feel very different at this point. You might truly be like, you know what? This weight is fantastic. I am ready to move on and do something else. That's fine. You can change your goals, and that is lovely. But don't get distracted from your goals because they're hard to meet. The fact is, losing weight is slow. Losing weight doesn't have to be hard, but it's also not easy. Losing weight takes time, it takes effort, it takes daily consistency, it takes mindset work. It takes a lot to get from point A to your goal. But when you have that goal, have a goal. You know, you set the goal for a reason. And when you check in with it, spend some time being honest with yourself. I feel like I've said that a couple times today, but I don't know if I've said it enough. Because being honest with yourself, arguably the hardest part of weight loss, being honest with where you are, what you want, and what it takes to get what you want is really important. And when you start telling yourself, well, it's okay, or oh, it's not that bad, or well, I want to do this now, or I want to do that now, but that actual original goal is still there, it's time to recommit, my friend. It is time to take a look at what it takes and do what it takes. The fact is, there will be so much time, the rest of your life, literally the rest of your life, for every other fitness goal you have. And I don't mean that like you shouldn't have other fitness goals. What I'm telling you is that when weight loss is your goal, you focus on weight loss. Then after you're done losing weight, then you move on to something else. You can have every single fitness goal you have ever wanted in the world, but not all at the same time. You cannot concurrently lose weight and get a lot stronger, or run a lot faster, or I don't even know it. I can't come up with another one right now. We talked about this a fair amount a couple of episodes ago, and I'm just going to remind you that when you have a goal, have a goal. My friends, here's the thing about this muddle in the middle. I am actually going to wrap this up. When we're done with this running interval, I'm going to go ahead and walk for the next one, and I feel like I'm going to be able to wrap this up here. The thing about the middle, if you sailed through the middle and didn't have any problems at all, thank you for listening. I mean, truly, thank you for listening to this entire episode, because it didn't really apply to you, did it? But if you are here in the middle, here's what I want you to know. This is such an opportunity. Such an opportunity. I know it feels like a struggle, but struggle is always an opportunity. Now is the time where you can really learn something about yourself. You can really dig deep and see what you're made of. Losing weight is not the easiest thing in the universe, but you don't need it to be. If losing weight is tough, you are tougher. You are capable of crunching these numbers. You are capable of checking your mindset. You're capable of reaching any goal you have. Take the time to learn something about where you are and what it's going to take to move forward. My friends, I know, like always, that this brought up questions like it always does. Thank you so much for getting this far and having questions. As I mentioned, my private Facebook group is a great place to ask questions. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment. I feel like I answer 100% of them. I try to answer 100% of them. Meeting me anywhere on social media is fantastic. Thank you so much for walking and running with me today. And I'll see you next week when we talk about what it's like to be done. I'll see you then.